Yeah, this is what I was telling you about. I found these tapes in the basement, and I guess the old owners left them. I don't know why they didn't take them with them, but I was gonna look through them to see if I could figure out, who they belong to, so I could send them back. But I don't know. I found something kind of weird, and I was wondering, maybe if you could check through the footage and see if you could figure out what it is.
Found footage is a genre of filmmaking that uses footage shot to appear as if taken in situ and recovered. It's most often used as a tool for horror, though it can be used for other genres. It tends to look deliberately low budget. It was generally recognized as a genre with the release of the Blair Witch Project in the late 90s, and since then has been used in many different ways across different productions. Analog horror is a subgenre of found footage, which has been around since maybe the early 2010s, but has been gaining more mainstream popularity recently, particularly as we can see examples of it now in modern popular media, such as with Skinamarink, which just recently released at the time of this video. This genre specifically uses analog technology and other technology from around the late 1900s, or the mimicry of it, as an element of its design, and can feature intentional glitches, distortions, and low-quality footage. These, plus other elements, are often a part of what became known as Unfiction, a type of immersive storytelling media usually produced by independent creators on the internet, who create fictional stories and scenarios that attempt to appear as if they were real. These can follow a vlogging or documentary style, footage from TV or tapes, social media accounts, video game footage, or even things like travel brochures. Today on the Panopticon Theatre, what makes found footage scary? What elements do the creators of this type of media use or misuse to create these feelings? And what, in my opinion, is the key to successfully utilizing this style of horror? I'm going to be exploring a few of my favourite examples and how I think they either work or fail to create this type of media. So, first of all, why do I think this style is so effective? Found footage and analog horror often puts the viewer not only in the front seat of the action, but often directly involves them in it. This is particularly true when it comes to media with ARG elements. Some of the best and most famous examples have the audience directly participate during the runtime of the series by having them break down and solve puzzles, find hidden clues, and even directly speak with the characters of the series, usually through a social media channel. The more the viewer is involved in the story, the more real it can feel, and therefore the more scary it is. Unfiction thrives on making itself seem real and realistic, like the events could actually be happening somewhere out there in the world as you watch along. Viewer immersion is a key part of why this genre can be so successfully unnerving when done right. Another element that adds to this is the perspective characters. They're rarely some sort of competent investigator or paranormal expert. Often they're a friend or family member just trying to find out what's going on, or an employee looking over some strange security footage that they just don't understand. Rarely do they have every piece of the puzzle, and those pieces they do have are often not in the correct order and may not even be legible to them. They have limited information and limited access to further information, and often they don't even know what it is they're going up against. There is the old concept within horror media: the things you don't see are scarier than the ones you do. This unknown creates this sense of unpredictability and uncertainty that leaves us feeling vulnerable and tense. This sense of near helplessness permeates the media and adds to that horror factor. This is no action hero with an arsenal of weapons and years of experience who can face this threat head on. This is just some college kid with a camera. This is just someone who found this old game their dad was working on and wanted to find out if it had any connection to his disappearance. This is just you. And yes, sometimes that protagonist is you. You're the one watching these tapes or these old bits of footage. What could you, or any of these protagonists, really expect to do if the forcing these videos does come knocking at your door? And for most of the protagonists of these series, it will. The genre thrives on saying that this could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. This taps into our innate fears and sense of danger. Let's look at some examples of effective found footage and why I think they work. One of the older examples of this genre in the internet sphere, Marble Hornets, was an ARG web series that developed from the Slender Man mythos. It featured assumed protagonist Jay looking over tapes from a student film by friend Alex Crayley that never reached completion, leading on to him discovering what happened to Alex and everyone involved with the film and presenting it all to his YouTube channel, filmed on a handheld camera. Marble Hornets utilized glitching in both sound and video to indicate the presence of supernatural elements within the footage. When antagonist the operator shows up or people or objects who are affected by it are on screen, glitching, screen tearing, audio damage, and sometimes the footage just straight up cutting out are commonplace. Otherwise, the audio is completely as recorded. There's no background music or voiceover, only the sound from whatever is happening on screen. Editing is minimal and is usually only explanatory text or cutting out irrelevant areas of footage. We're only ever shown what Jay has access to show us, which is often only part of the story and missing huge chunks of information, and when it's revealed that Jay has lost some of his memory, he, like the audience, only learn it when the tapes detailing what happened are obtained. This leads to a great deal of suspense and confusion, without it feeling like information is withheld for no reason. It feels realistic. The lack of music and low editing means it really does feel like the serious presentation of events that occurred, rather than a show. And as we looked at earlier, realism is often the key to making a found footage story feel scary. In some cases it makes sense for there to be BGM, for example in game-style productions like Petscop, but when it comes to vlog-style series like Marble Hornets, often a BGM track would be a strange thing to add to the content looking at it from the in-world character's perspective. Why would a scared young man looking to document these mysteries include a funny little royalty-free vlogger jingle behind it? Basically, the more you can easily suspend your disbelief and feel like the events of the footage could maybe really have happened or even actively are happening, the more effective the horror becomes. If it makes sense in world, it can make sense in our heads. It makes sense that the operator can make footage glitch because it warps reality. It wouldn't make sense for a spooky music track to start playing whenever it shows up. The more something makes sense in your head, the more seriously you subconsciously take it. Even if you know full well it's just a show, it creeps into your psyche and drops that little seed of doubt and fear. Many similar productions use similar techniques to bring you into the world they've created. Petscop, which I mentioned earlier, uses real game company logos to influence that perception that Petscop could be a real game. It's initially shot in an almost Let's Play-like format that many viewers will be intimately familiar with, as the audience to this type of content is massively focused towards those who spend a lot of time online. Other series like the Mandela Catalogue are a bit vaguer in their realism over time, but draw you in with what looks like a realistic public service announcement and broadcasts. The Mystery Flash Pit, which is in much of a different format but is still in the region of Unfiction horror, uses brochures and advertisements that look like they could be generally distributed by a real tourist agency. The realer it looks, the more it draws you in and primes your brain to accept the more outlandish parts of the story they're telling. Now that we've talked about why they succeed, let's talk about where a lot of horror that attempts to mimic this format fails. Since we talked about Marble Hornets, I have to mention the quote-unquote Marble Hornets movie Always Watching here, because it's a fantastic example of how to take this format and just do it completely wrong. It starts with footage that our protagonists never even see, it breaks the established in-universe rules for how the operator operates, it cuts in with footage our protagonists never had access to or should need to get access to, like security cam footage that only serves to show them walking around that could easily have been solved with a camera cut. The protagonists are unrelatable and frankly unlikable, unlike those of the actual series. This is all bad, but the worst of it in my opinion, the real reason Always Watching simply does not work, is that we're never given a reason as to why we're looking at it, which I think is the key to all of the unfiction horror genre. Why are we, the viewer, seeing it? With Marble Hornets, Petscop and similar, we're being shown it because of the anomalous properties and being asked for help or to at least see what's going on or to document the events happening. With other series like Marble Hornets or Like Everyman Hybrid, it starts as normal media footage that we might be watching for other reasons, such as a Let's Play or in Everyman Hybrid's case, a fitness channel, and later evolves it into its horror as we watch. In the case of Mandela Catalogue, this media is a PSA. It's meant to be broadcast to the public. It later evolves into other footage, but it was established enough as a PSA that we're already drawn in. Others use advertising methods, which again would be deliberately broadcast to the public. Everyman Hybrid and Marble Hornets had characters interacting directly with the viewers on their Twitter accounts, and Everyman Hybrid even had real-life scavenger hunts and events for people to participate in. Many pieces of analog horror, in my eyes, fail to grip you because they're too focused on look at the scary image and not you are in this world and this is happening to you. Now look at the scary image. Of course, examples do succeed without this element, but those that do often have more to offer than just scares and draw you in other ways. So the key to Unfiction, in my eyes, is this. You have to bring the viewer into your world. You have to get them interacting with it as a player in the game, not as a viewer. This is not traditional horror where the viewer sits as a voyeur to the content. You're creating on the internet a platform with a world of possibilities for viewer interaction. The series that succeed don't just show the viewer a scary face or a loud noise, they have them solving puzzles, digging through content, going to other websites and finding hidden links, working together as a community to find answers to what you present them with. If you just say to your viewer, here's Funny Joe's food farm with haunted animatronics, here's a recording of some security guard getting killed, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, let's be real, the restaurant angle is way overdone, but more than that, if your viewer isn't locked into the world you've created, it's just not going to be scary. Another slightly less major element is the production value. A lot of less effective internet horror relies on high editing, constant video glitches, loud and sudden audio distortion, warped faces and environments. But the overuse of these techniques is startlingly obvious to the viewer, and again, it rarely gives us an in-world reason the footage is like that. Better examples explain themselves. The tapes were water damaged, the game was never finished, the footage is actually just haunted. But even that can't cover up when this distortion is clearly just thrown in as much as possible for the scare factor. It's a part of analog horror, but used without consideration as to why, really just makes it look thrown in and if anything breaks immersion. So, since I just complained a bunch, I'll sum up my thoughts. Unfiction horror is a fantastic genre that has a huge range of variety and potential. It's a rare case where non-professionals can easily take a crack at producing their own media with the equipment they have available regardless of quality. It's collaborative and creative, and let me say there's nothing wrong with creating an ineffective series if you're having fun doing it. It's a lot of work either way, and it's a great way to develop editing and storytelling skills. I'm not by any means saying people shouldn't do it if they don't think they can get it perfect, but if you're looking to create your own series in this style, here's my list of unfiction and analog horror keys. Make sure all elements make sense in the world you've created. Why would this footage have a BGM edited into it if it's been posted for careful analysis? How and why is this footage getting to us? How are the protagonists accessing it? Does it make sense for an element to be a puzzle, or are you just adding it to pad the runtime? Don't change the rules of the world at random. Make sure you establish the functions, access, and skills everybody and everything has. Don't suddenly decide a monster can hack cameras when it's never done that before without good reason. Don't suddenly decide your protagonist has access to his dead sister's laptop when 4 episodes ago he explicitly stated he didn't know her password and there's no other way to get it. Get viewers involved in any way you can and in unique and creative ways that make them feel involved in the world and story. If you can, give them a way to talk to the characters directly and let them solve puzzles and figure out things the protagonist couldn't. Don't just throw in scares for the hell of it. Overuse of glitches and jump scares can actually kill the tension of the series and make it feel silly. And showing your hand too early can ruin the tension equally, as when the viewer knows what the threat is it becomes significantly less scary. Keep your POV character, if you have one, relatable above all else. They're a viewer insert. They should be weak and unable to deal with the situation alone, not some buff genius who can instantly solve puzzles or bust their way out of any danger. Let them get hurt and be threatened. Following that, remember who your audience is and what they'd find particularly relatable or scary. Don't pander to them, but understand where they're coming to your series from and how you can use that to make your work even more effective. Don't overuse cliches. Seriously, we're done with the restaurant animatronics. Unless you think you can find a really unique way to do something, it's best to avoid the same old thing over again. And most importantly, in my eyes, bring the viewer into the world and keep them there. Remember, this is just my personal opinion, but as someone who's enjoyed and engaged with these genres for over a decade now, I like to think I have a good perspective on the matter. I've definitely seen both the worst and best that unfiction and analog horror have to offer. What do you think? Is there anything I missed that you think is key to successful analog horror? Or do you just want to yell at me for only talking about decades-old media instead of more recent things? Let me know, and let me know also if you want to see me discuss any of the media we mentioned today in more depth. Thanks for watching today's Panopticon Theatre performance. What do you think? Did I miss anything? What do you want me to talk about next? Make sure to sub and join the audience if you want to see more.